Namaskar. Good morning, dear devotees, friends. Today we are going to conclude the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam we started on the March 4th, 2018. So almost the whole year of 18, 19, and now we are going to conclude it on August 30th, 2020. Maybe we could read the last part, but I don't know whether it will be interesting or not, because the 12th chapter is giving the description of the families. And also very interestingly, of course, those who are interested, you can read what is going to happen, who is going to rule. So all those things are recorded in the Bhagavata. So we mainly focused on the philosophy. So now we will try to do that also over here. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunnanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sanghapada Kramopanishadai Gayantiyam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyantiyam Yogino Yasyantam Navidu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Today I am beginning with the last verse, because now we are offering all our puja, all our work at the feet of that great Lord. And mainly what we learn from the Bhagavata, that is a very, very interesting thing. The great Vyasa, with the inspiration of the Devarshi Narada, began the most famous Purana by describing the truth. That's a story. It goes, the Bhagavata, those who are following the Bhagavata, you know that it is a Purana, and there are 18 main Puranas, but Bhagavata is the most important Puranas. And just something that you have written and that will be called as Purana? No. The Purana, it has characteristics. And we are having all those in our YouTube, and also they have developed some the devices. I will announce that at the end. So everything in the Bhagavata, it is there. So you can open the book or you can listen to that. All the different points that to be covered, then only it will be considered as a Purana. It has been covered by the Bhagavata. So this Bhagavata is a Purana. But in the beginning itself, the great Rishi Vyasa, who also composed the other Puranas and the Mahabharata, he and then divided, organized the Veda. That great Rishi, the Vishala Buddhi, about him it is said, he is a very intelligent person, Vishala Buddhi. But even then his mind was not at peace. That is, it seems like that. Then the Narada came and he asked the Narada, why this should be like this? The whole life I spent on these spiritual practices, but I am not getting the peace. Then the Narada told that you have not given to the people that particular thing by which they can develop their own spiritual life. So why don't you develop the life of Sri Krishna? So the Krishna, that is the God, but with the inspiration of the Narada, the Vyasa, he started. But how he started? He says, he from whom the creation, sustenance, dissolution take place. And he who is both material and instrumental cause, Sattam Param Dhimahi, on that supreme truth we meditate. The personal God, but that personal God is nothing but the impersonal, all pervading the consciousness, which is known as the Brahman. So this is the speciality of the Hinduism, I say again and again. So if one can understand this, you will find the Hindu temple full with so many varieties of gods and goddesses, and the people will be researching on that. Is it a pantheism, panentheism, and so many ways? But the real Hindu, they know the God is only one, and He is all-pervading, without any attribute. He is nothing but the consciousness, and that has been termed by the Veda as Brahman, Atman, the self. So this Brahman, the Atman, this as it is here in the Bhagavata, very much present. At the same time, we find a personified God. And then we will find the Sri Krishna. The God of the Bhagavata is the Vishnu, and from Vishnu is coming Rama and Krishna. We will come to that slowly. And this personified God is helping us to develop the spirituality. The essence of the Bhagavata is the supreme Brahman, and the Bhagavata is the book of pure knowledge, taught through the divine life of Sri Krishna. And the Bhagavata was narrated. Now some people, they say that they claim the Bhagavata is the holy book of the Vaishnavas only. And there is many people, they think in that way. Bhagavata means Vaishnava. But if we look at the history of the Bhagavata, this Purana, and we know that the Shankaracharya's guru's guru, the Gaudapada, when he is writing, and there he is mentioning about the Bhagavata. And also his disciple, then finally comes the Shankara, and from there Shukadeva. The Shukadeva, then Shankara. So this tradition is coming down. The first is that Veda Vyasa, and then this one after another. And they always speak about the ultimate truth, that is the knowledge. And knowledge is nothing but the Brahman. Now, who is narrating this Bhagavata, this story? The Shukadeva, as a pure soul, as a no attachment for this worldly life. That is Shuka. To whom he is narrating? The king, the famous king, the King Parikshit, who was waiting for his death. Do you know that story? Parikshit made a mistake, and then he was cursed by a Brahman boy that he will die within 7 days. So Parikshit knew that I am surely going to die, but he was a courageous man and very righteous person. He told, okay, I did the mistake and I have to suffer. No problem, I am not going to save myself, but the 7 days that is left over there, I like to dedicate, completely concentrate on the God. So he went by the side of a river and he was waiting there. Then the monk, the Shukadeva, the son of Vedavyasa, Vedavyasa composed and he taught his son, and the son went to the king to narrate the whole story. By listening to those stories, the Parikshit mind was dedicated to the Supreme God. And that is the main gift of Bhagavata. The Bhagavata, if one is interested to read or to listen, then the Bhagavata can help that person to take his mind to liberation. That is the wonderful scripture. This is the Bhagavata. The mind of the both, those who are narrating or the one who is listening, should be pure. And what is this purity? How the mind can become pure? The Shankaracharya also, in his Viveka Chudamani, he is mentioning 310, that is the verse of the Viveka Chudamani. I am quoting that particular word. Vishaya anuchintaya eva samjivana hetu. The hetu, the cause, the reason of the birth and rebirth is what? Vishaya anuchintaya. Vishaya are the objects of this world. And there are 5 objects: Rupa, Rasa, Shabda, Sparsha, Gandha. There is the form, the beauty, and the smell, the taste, and like that, the 5. And our 5 organs, they are constantly going out and connecting with those objects, bringing the information and deluding the mind. So this is the whole process going on, going back to God. What should we do? We stop this process and reverse the process. That's all. We are not going to enjoy these 5 objects, the control of the mind. So they teach meditation, concentration, and the whole of spiritual life is nothing but withdrawing the senses from the sense objects, making the distance, and that is sufficient. The Vishaya anuchintaya eva samjivana hetu. And there, one after another, Shankaracharya explained how the mind can be purified. So Bhagavatam, it teaches the Brahman or the God. How it proves? The either Brahman or the God, just you are announcing, but the Hindu mind, they always go with the scientific thought, the process, that you have to prove it. Unless and until you can prove it, then I am not going to accept it. Maybe that it is your emotional, or maybe that you have realized something, but it doesn't matter if I cannot realize the same thing. If a scientist say, I have discovered water in this process, but no one else can discover it, then this is not a science. After the discovery, he should disclose that this is the process that I have discovered this particular thing. The same way, the Hindu, they also think the religious realization, revelation must go through a process. And if that process is followed by another person, he will also get and must get the same result. When the Buddha, by practicing something, the spiritual practices, he realized the bodha, the knowledge. So Gautama became Buddha. I too can become by following those things. If it is not, there is something wrong in the Gautama's practices. I am not going to accept it. So this is, then how he will prove? Then it says there are 4 ways of, and the Bhagavata, it is also accepting this. One is perception, then inference, scripture, and tradition. These are the 4 ways. In the Vedanta, they also have the process of proving that the pratyaksha, anumana, etc., this pramana. And all the philosophies, they will take this, these are the processes. The perception, I can understand, I can see, I can talk, I can feel, I can touch, that I know this. That's why when a young boy went to Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna and the Narendranath, he was a student of Calcutta University, and he asked that Sri Ramakrishna, "Sir, have you seen God?" Immediately he said, "Yes, I have seen God. I talked to him, and I can show you too." That is the main thing. I can show you too, if you follow the process by which I have gone over there. So this perception, then the inference, if God is not there, so how all these things, so that is. Now the scripture, Aptavakya, those who have realized, when they say, we have to accept that. After the globetrotter, after traveling, when they come and they give their travelogue and they give the maps, then the people, they accept. Yes, maybe a little, the ordinary person, he may exaggerate or make some mistakes in explaining, but those who have seen God, the Atman, the pure self, they will never make the mistake. So all those revelations are recorded in the Veda, in the Upanishads. Those revelations are also there in the Puranas. They have also taken those. So it is perception, inference, scripture, and finally the tradition. These are the four ways. Bhagavata, we are learning from Bhagavata that the God can have form and God can be without form. Friends, today we are concluding, we are closing. So we are just trying to remember what we have learned from Bhagavata. The great knowledge that the Bhagavata has given is this: the God is immanent, God is impersonal, God is all-pervading, and at the same time, God is having the form, God is having the qualities. The formless, attributeless, all-pervading God can also be God with form and qualities. That is exactly what Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna propagated again and again. The formless God assumes different forms through his own power, known as Maya Shakti. Now here comes the philosophical questions. If the God has created this universe, and you say so, we don't have any problem to accept that. But now you say the God is creating out of what? We accept the God as an intellectual cause, and he is doing it. What is the material cause? Is there any other material already existing along with the God, parallel with his existence? No, that cannot be. The two existences cannot be. If that is there, then God becomes finite. The infinite attitude of the God is infinite. And if it is infinite, that means everywhere, all pervading. So obviously there cannot be any second object. And if that is that, then how God created? Out of what? Then the Hindus, they answer, all the Veda and everything, that God has created this universe out of his own. That he is the material cause and he is the intellectual cause, both. Okay, even if we accept that the God is the intellectual cause and he is the material cause, God himself is the carpenter and God himself is the wood, and the carpenter and the wood, they are making the furniture. Okay. Now when the God is the material and utilizing the material for his creation, and he is creating varieties of things, sentient and insentient, living and not living, then tell me, the God is going to be exhausted sometime? Then the Hindus will say, no, God cannot be exhausted. If a material is used for making something else, I am using the wood for making that wood carving the wood, and then making the dolls. Then a time will come, the wood will be exhausted and there will be the dolls only. But no, it is not like that. Then how it is possible the God is creating? Is it a permanent creation or a temporary creation? Then you say it is purely temporary creation. Then how he is creating? There it comes with the answer, his own power, that is called Maya. So if we understand this, then we can understand the Hindu mind. The Maya is the power of God, associated with God. It comes from God, and this Maya is having three qualities: Satya, Raja and Tama. The good, the mixture and the bad. Mixture of good and bad and the bad. Sattva, Raja and Tama in Sanskrit. And this Maya, the power of God, is having two power. That is the covering and superimposing. Avarana, Vikshepa. These are the two Sanskrit words. Avarana, it is covering, and Vikshepa, superimposing something else. Only these five things are there in that power: Sattva, Raja, Tama and Avarana, Vikshepa. Now it is said, is a continuous creation is going on? No. When that Sattva, Raja and Tama are in equilibrium, there is no movement, there is no changes, then they say there is no creation. And that is called dissolution. That sometimes they say the doomsday, all closed, etc. Pralaya. What is that pralaya? This three goes back and they become completely inactive. And how the creation starts, Bhagavata says, the consciousness, the master, when it comes close to its own power. And to explain this, in the Bhagavata we find another character that is called Kapila, and Kapila has given the name of the God's power as Prakriti. The God is there and the Prakriti. So we should not be confused with the terminologies, the God and the power. And it says that when the God wishes, activates the power. And they will sometimes explain, as in the Bhagavata we find, the God is coming near to his power, and because of his affinity, closeness, and there the power, that is Sattva, Raja, Tama, these three qualities start moving. And the one is getting mixed up with another. So the permutation and the combination, and that is called creation. Now, there again, they are explaining all those things that you see is a temporary thing. And what you see is not true. To explain that, they say Avarana, Vikshepa. These are the two power the Maya is having. What is that Avarana? The great example they will be always giving, that there is a rope, and reality that is a rope. But a person, he comes and sees the rope as a snake. All Vedantin argument. And when you see the rope as a snake and you don't see the rope, you see the snake. And naturally, the reaction of seeing a snake so close to you, all are present there. You are perspiring, you are crying for help, all things goes on. All activities. But on the basis of what? A false knowledge, false notion. In Sanskrit they say mittha. It's a mittha jnanam, false knowledge. It's a knowledge, but not real knowledge. So mittha jnana. So this is the way they will explain the creation. So how we are all afraid over here. I am going to lose my property, I am going to lose this, I am going to have that. So many things are going on in our mind. The whole human life is nothing but it begins when you are 60 years old, and then ultimately at the end of your life, constantly so many things you are superimposing, and then you are thinking this is like this, it goes on like this. So constantly either we are thinking that we are enjoying, but in reality we are suffering ultimately. Then when we suffer, then we say, oh, no more, this is enough. So this way the experience goes on. Then ultimately we decide enough is enough. I am not going to remain in this world anymore. I don't need anything of this world anymore. No name, no fame, no physical comfort, nothing I want. I want only peace. I want only joy. I want only happiness, eternal happiness. And that from there it begins the spiritual life. And where the Bhagavata comes to help you. The Bhagavata is giving you the dharma, to protect the righteousness. Again, the Bhagavata concept, that Supreme God, He takes the form, human form, different forms, but mainly human form. Why? After becoming a human, only one can get the liberation. Among all the creations of the God, the best creation is the human. And this human creation, why? Because human has the feeling. He can understand, he can judge. And that is why in Christianity they say God made man out of his own image. He is not the same looking. No, that cannot be. The different looking people. But the human having that capacity to understand, to judge, vichara buddhi, is the concept of the discriminative faculty. That is there. So that is the reason that God gave that wonderful gift to the human being to understand that this is temporary and this is permanent. Go for the permanent. Even all this, when the majority of the people, particularly the leaders of the society, the spiritual leaders and the political leaders and the economical leaders, if they are becoming the immoral, what is this immorality? They are accepting the worldly things as permanent and vying with each other, competing with each other to get those things, and that is called immorality, adharma. Dharma and adharma. And then when the adharma prevailed, and the Narada was very sad, and in the story it is there. The why, Narada, why you are sad? You are always happy. You are singing the name of God and you are roaming around, you are free. Why you are sad today? Then he said, you know, I traveled to this world and I saw all people, almost all of them, they're thinking about their body. They cannot think anything else except the body. And that's why I am so sorry. When this type of situation comes, according to the Sanskrit terminology, adharma, and prevails, then that Supreme God who created this universe and out of his own image the human being, and when he sees the human being is making mistake, almost all of them, they are thinking this world is permanent, then he comes as a teacher, but in the form of a human being. And we have seen that the Lord Vishnu, in the Bhagavata we have found the Lord Vishnu came in the form of a swan. And then afterwards we find him in the form of Sri Ramachandra. And again in the form of Sri Krishna. And in the very modern time, 1830, the same Vishnu, the same Supreme God came and he became famous as a Sri Ramakrishna. And all these three, every time when he's coming, only one mission, one purpose, to establish the dharma. And what is that dharma? Understand the truth, the reality, and go for that. We will come to that. The Vishnu, he is coming here. Now in the Bhagavata, its second skanda, it is having 12 skanda. And each skanda is having so many chapters. In the second skanda, that's called book, 10th chapter, verse 13th, it tells us how the creation came. The Supreme God divided himself in three parts. As if, we have to always keep them in mind, as if he divided. And it says, Eko nanatvam anichan. Eko, one, to become many. Why? Anichan, it desired. Nobody dictated. There was no one else to tell anything. But the Supreme God thought, oh, I will play. And what to do? I will make myself so many. And Eko nanattam anichan. Mayaya vasrijat tridha. Once I was observing an actor, he is learning. And in his own room, there are so many the mirrors on the top and also on the walls, the room of mirrors. So he was in the middle and he was acting, he was making the faces and he looks his own image in this side and he turns to the next and behaving completely other way, and then he looks up and he is. So I was observing the same person and expression in this different characters, and sometimes it's so good, and sometimes his eyes, his facial expression is so terrible. From distance when we were looking at that, so I was thinking, he is thinking to become like that and he is becoming. The man is thinking that I will be a villain and he is becoming a villain. And he is thinking that I will be a hero and I will be a nice man. He is becoming like that. So same way that Supreme Being who was all pervading, all alone, constantly remaining in that peace, just anichan, just thought, I like to be many. The eko nanatvam, to become many, nanatvam, anichan. What he did? Vistrijat tridha. And he divided himself in three different parts. How? Mayaya. Again, friends, I will remind you, the Maya means the power of God. And that's the elusive power of God, just like those mirrors. It is not real. But the mirror was showing that he has transformed into a terrible person or a very good person. So Mayaya, with the power of that, so God's power, as if he divided into three parts. What is that? Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, Adi Bhuta. So majority of the time you will hear the saints of the Hindu or the pujaris, the holy people, at the end of everything they will say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Why three times? This is from the nature, the divine, and all other human being and the other beings, and also the matter, this body. The problem comes through from these three. From the nature, from the God, from the divine, or from the neighbors and but maybe animals and reptiles all living around you, or you are living among those things. They should be friendly, they should be helping you. So that is the prayer. And finally, your own body. So Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik and Adi Bhuta. So this is the three. Now the Mahavishnu, as because all this time it was the all-pervading consciousness. And in the all-pervading consciousness there was no name, or only Brahman. The Brahman means the all-pervading consciousness. And when from that a form is taking, we have to give a name. The name and the form, otherwise how we will identify? So that's why immediately we give a name to anything that we discover. A star or some planets or maybe a new bird, maybe a flower, anything, immediately we give the name. Similarly, when that supreme consciousness took the form, we gave the name Vishnu. And Moha, the Sanskrit word Moha means supreme. Why this Vishnu? Vistar eti Vishnu. The same, the Vishnu also is that same all-pervading. So Vishnu. Vishnu, out of him created Brahma. It's not Brahman, it is Brahma. This Brahma is the firstborn. How he was born? The Vishnu thought, and this particular feature came, Brahma. Lord Vishnu gave all knowledge to this particular creation, Brahma. So immediately, that Hindus, they're very symbolic. That they made the Brahma is 4 heads, the 4 faces. That means he is having the Veda. The Veda is divided into 4, so just to show that. The 4 faces Brahma. His color is red. Why? He is active. That's why his body is red. And Brahma Shakti is the Saraswati. Why? Knowledge. So that is the way, and Brahma's carrier is a swan. Why? Because Brahma is not attached to anything. Though he is creating, he is the creator, he is so activated, all the time active, but not attached to anything. So these are the symbols. If we can explain the symbol, understand the symbol, we understand the truth. So Brahma was created. Now again the Brahma divided himself into 2 parts, and that is called Ardha Narishwara. Ardha means half. Nari is a lady, woman, and then another half is the man. So that is the God, Ardhanarishwara. And this Ardhanarishwara, he created Sayambhu and Shatarupa. The lady form was Shatarupa, the name, because any form must have a name, otherwise we won't be able to identify. And the man form was Shayambhu Shatarupa. This Shayambhu Shatarupa, their daughter is Devahuti. And Brahma again created another son out of his mind, he thought, and that is a great ascetic Kardama. Those who are following my classes regularly, you are now habituated with all these names and you know these characters. This Kardama, and the Kardama wanted to practice the austerity, spiritual austerity. He never wanted to become involved in this world, but his father, his creator, the Brahma, told, no, you have to marry. And the Lord Vishnu himself told, I will become your son, so please marry. And he married Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhu and Satarupa, and we can say that was the first marriage ceremony. And this Kardama and the Devahuti, their son is Lord Kapila. This Kapila, the great expounder of the Shankhya. The Bhagavata, we learn that who is a sadhu? So this is the creation and in the form of the Bhagavata. And Bhagavata is teaching us who is a real good person, a sadhu, a holy person. Why? Because you have to be guided. You must go to a holy person to get his guidance. I am starting the journey. I want to know. So obviously I will go to a teacher who has already completed in that particular subject. So the sadhu is that who has already realized, he has already traveled in the path of righteousness. So this sadhu, who we will know so very clearly, because this is the time we can make mistake, and if we make the mistake, then again we are diverted. Instead of going to a particular person who knows, if we go to a wrong person, he will show us a completely wrong direction. So one must be very, very careful about choosing a guide, spiritual guide, a guru. What are the qualities? Bhagavata tells us the first and foremost is Bhagavata, the third skanda, 25th chapter, 21 words. It says it should be first and foremost patient. Dhairya Shila Dhairyam. The sadhu, a good person, a holy person, should have a lot of patience. He must be kind-hearted. If he is not kind-hearted, then he can never become very friendly to each and every one. What is the friend? He feels for others and stand by his side when it is necessary. So that friendliness. And peaceful himself. He is not perturbed. He is not disturbed. And then free from enmity. So these are the qualities of the holy person we learn from the Bhagavata. Bhagavata, through Kopil Muni, teaches us what is true devotion. So these are the things we learn from Bhagavata. What is the devotion? Bhagavata taught us how an illustrious son Kapila taught his mother Devahuti the teaching of having liberation. And this is the first time the mother is learning from the son. And what she is asking, give me liberation, oh my son. I know you are not ordinary. I know that you have that capacity to guide me. So please give me liberation. This is a big chapter. And the very wonderful, the conversation between the mother and the son. And ultimately over there we will find from the duality coming the non-duality, from the Dvaita, the expressions of the Advaita, and there we will find that the Kapila, the son, is telling his mother, you are making a mistake, mother, by going to the temple and worshipping the images. Whereas I, the God, is all around the temple, outside the temple. Why don't you go and worship me, who are outside the temple? So we, the human being, we construct temple, the synagogue, the churches, the mosque. We build. And with all the things that we are having, the bricks and mortars and all, then we think that is the most holy place. And then we kill others, those who come near that. Isn't it? Is God only into that building? No. That why we create, why we construct the temple and the holy places? Because it helps us. Laboratory, why people they create the laboratory? Because it helps us to go and research over there. All apparatuses and all other things are there. The people are trained into there. The same way, if you go to a temple, the trained people are there. They are called pandits. They are supposed to guide you. They are supposed to teach you. And when you go over there, there is nothing else but the God and you. So your concentration will be there. And they will say that you have to share. So that is the same way. But when in the name of the temple we go and killing people, then the Kapila is telling that is no sense. You are going against God. And when we sell in the name of God, oh, if you donate this much money, you will go to heaven, and if you are not, then you are going to hell. Who are you to know that? Do you know your own, the destination where you are going over there? So these are the things that we have to understand, we learn from Bhagavata. And this is true religion. The people, they are criticizing religion. The modern generation, they don't like religion because, you know why? Because we have created the problem. And we express in such a way that religion means so many complications. No, not at all. Religion means a development. The human mind is developing to a divine. So that should be the guide. So that through devotion it is possible. And how it is? Yogasya lakshanam bhakshe. He is telling, the son is telling to the mother, I will tell you how to develop devotion, how to transform the lower senses, lower mind, lower thoughts to a divine thought. How? Swadharma acharanam shakta vidharmat nibartanam. Swadharma acharanam shakta. Just perform your own duties without attachment. Just perform your own duties without attachment. When you are a student, when you are a learner, you must learn and don't get attached to anything else. If a student is getting involved into the other things, then he won't be able to learn. So the focus should be that. Then he has become a householder. The responsibility to develop the house, because from the house, from the family, children are born and they are again going out to the human society. So obviously my children should be the worthy to live in the human society. They should help the human society and they should not create any problem in the human society. So each and every married couple, that is their swadharma. They should go on teaching their children. And not only that, all around people in the society, the schooling, in the schools also, they should be careful to teach that young mind how to grow a real personality, human person. So that is the way which society grows. That's called swadharma. Then again it's telling second, Gramma dharma nirvrittischa, moksha dharma rati tata. What is that Gramma dharma? Gramma dharma means those things that takes our mind to the attachment to the worldly things. That's called Gramma. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also we find this word, Gramma katha nakaive. And don't discuss all these useless things. And major part of our energy goes in talking about, discussing about the things which are of no use for us. So that is called Gramma. So Gramma dharma nirvrittischa. We should give up the Gramma dharma. That is the selfish way of thinking and performing. Moksha dharma rati. What is the moksha dharma? Practice the vichara, discrimination, practice detachment, and also practice concentration to God. So we learn these from the Bhagavata. The seekers of liberation must adopt Bhagavata is teaching. That is again the third, the book, 28 chapter and 8 verse. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, Tapa, Shaucha, Swadhyaya, Archana, Mona and Dhyana. So these are the teachings we find from the Bhagavata. We learn the teachings of the spiritual practices from the Bhagavata. And what are those? We find the conversation between the king Prithu and the Kumaras. This is a very interesting conversation. The Kumara, you all know by this time, they are also famous as Sun. The Sananda, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar. They're all four Kumaras. They're unmarried and young Brahmins. And good qualities. These four brothers, they'll be roaming here and there free. And because they were not having any attachment. So they used to go. Wherever there is good thing, they are there. They'll be sitting, they'll be listening, they'll be enjoying, and they'll be taking part in the conversation. And they were just, if you withdraw your mind from the worldly things, your mind become pure. The moment your mind become pure, immediately the revelation of God. And when the revelation of God is there, knowledge and peace are almost there, always there. So this is this simple way. Instead of telling, I don't believe in God, why don't you practice? This is always I say. Instead of telling that I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the existence of God, there is no God. Instead of that, why don't you practice this much? Non-attachment and just concentration to the supreme peace. These two things. You are there, not that you have to stop eating, sleeping, nothing like that. Only don't become attached to anything in this society. Is it possible for you? And then if you can, concentrate your mind on something higher, and that is called peace, joy, happiness. If we can do that, then the revelation of God will be there, and for sure. That is exactly it says. It is a scientific religion. Why? Because if you practice, you get the result, and result for sure. And what is that God? That is love and unselfishness. So we learned from this the King Prithu, and that also Bhagavata teaches us that in the olden tradition in India, the kings, they were very just kings, very good kings. And in their kingdom, people were so happy. So you need not to go out all the time, the fighting. And sometimes when we read and see the movies, then majority, everywhere we see in the Europe and all other Asiatic countries also, the kings, major time they are going out and fighting. Their only one work was to kill and to enjoy. That's all. Then when they will develop themselves, when they will help the country to develop. And the development of the human society cannot be just food. It is the intellect, it is the knowledge. So ancient India picture that we get from the pages of the Bhagavata, it shows us, it tells us, the kings were very learned people, and at the same time very good administrators. So people were so happy. And look at it, this king inviting the holy people and asking the philosophical questions, the dialogue between the Prithu and the Kumaras, dialogue between the Nimi and the 9 brothers, Navayogi. So learn about the Bhagavata Dharma from the Navayogi is a wonderful. I have given in the Advaita Ashram last time when I went, I gave, of course, I think it is in Bengali, It is in Bengali. So this Navayogi Sannidhya, in the company of the Navayogi, 9 brothers. And this again, a king Nimi, he was asking 9 questions he asked, and all are very highly spiritual questions. We learn that even the person who is donating, if he is egoistic, God doesn't like it. So when we are doing anything, we should be humble. The ego, that makes us all this trouble. If there is ego, then there is the problem. What is that ego? And we find like this, that Bali, he was a great donor, but he used to boast that I only can donate, and whoever comes to me, whatever they want, I can donate. So the God came to help him. He was a good man. And a donation is a charity, is considered as a very high spiritual practice. Because I am earning money, wealth, and then I am giving it to somebody else. It needs the broad mind. So the charity is a very high spiritual practice. But if it is done with the ego, it never takes us anywhere. So this man was very righteous man, but egoistic person. This is righteousness and the ego doesn't go together. So the God came to his help. He came in the form of a Vamana. In the Sanskrit word Vamana means dwarf. And Bali, the king Bali was there, and he was telling, whatever you want, just ask, I will give it to you. And you know that wonderful story, the little person, the Vamana, he said, I want only 3 steps of land from your country. And he must have laughed. And he said, 3 steps? You are such a small person. What 3 steps he will take? But then when he agreed, what happened? The small little form became Lord Vishnu, all pervading, huge. In the first step, he took almost everything. Then second step, the Swarga. And then third step, he lifted and told, hey Bali, where I am going to put it? Because Swarga, Marta and Patala, already it is covered. And there is nothing left in this world. And story goes like this, the devoted Bali understood his folly. He understood because of his ego, the God has come in this form to crush his ego. So he sat and told, why, my head is here. You can place your holy feet on these. So that still it is there, and we can accept, we can understand that the God is there to teach us that we must be humble. Even when we are doing the good work, if we do with our ego, then we make the mistake. So we are learning so many things. And finally, friends, even in the last few classes, in the discourses, we were listening how the great friend and the follower of Sri Krishna, Uddhava, was asking questions to Sri Krishna, and that has been the name. It says that last message of Sri Krishna. The Sri Krishna was giving in the reply, the Yadu Vangsha, though the king was born in that clan, there is another thing we should remember. The God was born into that clan, but when the majority of the people of that clan became egoistic, God left them. And the individual person, the Bali, because of his ego, God taught him, helped him, but by killing him. And here we find Yadu Vangsha. They should have been so wonderful that the God is advented into that. God was there. All their successes were because of the God, but they forgot it. Can you imagine when the God takes the form in a clan, in a society? They should be aware of it. They should be humble. They should try to learn. But they didn't. The Yadu Vangsha was completely destroyed, and God never lifted his finger to stop it. Sri Krishna, he observed that his own people are dying. Why? Because they are egoistic, and ego separates us from God. And then God will never be there. So egoistic person is not getting the blessings of God, the support of God. That is we learned. And then 1 or 2 person like the Uddhava, he came and he told, and he was, Uddhava, we appreciate, he was concerned. Oh Lord, you are leaving now. He decided, the Krishna, that I should now leave this world. Now, what will happen to the future generation? Look at it. Now, I am all right, I will go along with God. No, he was not that selfish. The Uddhava, the great mind, he was thinking about the posterity, about the future of the people. What will happen? So he went on asking question, what is dharma? What is the way? And then he said, the swadharma, the varna and the ashrama. The varna and the ashrama. At least this part I will request all Hindus to learn, because we are confused. And the whole world is complaining about the Hinduism because of this. And among the Hindus, some people are there boastfully. They are trying to protect the varna and the ashrama, particularly the varna, not knowing what is these varnas are, what is the real cause. So that if we learn, and this is the great teachings of the Bhagavata, all these days we were learning, and in that, finally, the Krishna is telling us the swadharma you should practice. Friends, I like to conclude by quoting with the words of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. What is this Bhagavata? And he says, sweet as a cake, fried in the butter of wisdom, and soaked in the honey of love. I will repeat these words. So this Bhagavata, according to Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, is as sweet as a cake, because so wonderful stories of the Dhruva. And if you read, you won't be able to stop. And it goes on reading and reading. So sweet as cake, fried in the butter of wisdom, and then soaked in the honey of love. May this jnana bhakti, the knowledge and devotion that comes to us and makes our human life a great success. May all be happy. Thank you very much.
Well, the first question is from Nita Nagubati. Thank you for your wisdom and making the knowledge understandable. According to Hinduism, what is the first movement of creation? What is first created?
The first movement if you ask Nita, first movement is the wish of God. The God with formless, all-pervading, the Brahman or the Atman, whatever you may call, and a wish came, a desire came, I am one, I like to be many. And in Sanskrit they say again and again, Ekaham bahushyamavihi. Eka aham. Aham means I, Eka, I am alone. I want to be many. Bahushyamavihi. And then first came that the Vishnu, the Mahavishnu.
The next question is from Tanya Guha. Tana Maharaj, how to practice non-attachment?
Yes, Tanya, very, very, very important question. How to practice non-attachment? You know, they always say discrimination and detachment. It goes hand in hand. And if we constantly think, now I have seen the mothers, the newborn babes or the very young child that are so attached. Of course the mother should be. And when the child is moving left and right, constantly eyes are moving. The great attachment. But if the mother is continuing that, in the beginning it is okay. But if it is continuing and the child will become 21, 22, 30, 40, if the mother goes on looking like that, where the baby is going, child is going, then what will happen? Suffering. Because that grown-up person will go to somewhere else, he will settle or she will settle in his own way. So mother has to understand, one day this baby who is now lying on my lap cannot do anything without me, is going to leave me. If that thought is there, just similarly many other things. So we purchase a huge building, then afterwards the one day we have to leave. we know that it is not possible for me to take the whole building. And this is the way each and everything in our life, the object of our life. When we get a job, we become so happy. Then we know there is a retirement day for me waiting. And if you know that, then you are not suffering. And that is exactly called detachment. Thank you for a good question.
The next question also from Tanya Goa. Is it important to count japa, or is it enough if I keep note of time? That is, if I chant for 1 hour without keeping count of japa, also I meditate on the form of God while japa. Is it okay?
The Tanya, if you have taken the initiation, you should follow the instruction of your guru, or otherwise in general we can say that in the beginning one should count the japa. And you know that in 1 hour you can at least do 3,000. 3,000, so in 1 hour 3,000, okay. So by 20 minutes in 1,000, so 3,000. Then you need not to count. You can simply go on doing and meditating on the form of the God whose name you are repeating is a very good. If you can develop that habit, is a very good habit.
The next question is from Dhaneshwar Jena. What is Abhyabhicharini Bhakti in Katha?
Abhyabhicharini Bhakti, Abhyabhicharini. The Bhyabhicharini means that goes from here to there. And Abhyabhi all means negative. So that means one-pointed devotion. That is called Abhyabhicharini. The Bhyabhichari in the personal life also people don't like. In the society, that you are from this life to another life you are going, choosing this man or that person, this, that. So that people don't like, don't accept. Similarly, in the devotion also, if you choose one god or goddess, and that is your chosen deity, 100% mind should go to that. That is called Abhyabhicharini Bhakti.
The next question is from Srima Vishwas. Srima is asking, tell the process of detachment being a mother.
This is only every day you have to develop that this child that is growing up with me is going to be separated from me. That's for sure. So that is the thing I told my mother, you knew that I won't be with you all through your life. And even if I stay back, can you give me the word that you will not die before me? So you will die someday. So obviously I will be left alone. So give me that is the discrimination, you know, Shima? That is the discrimination, that is the way of thinking. That if you constantly think that, as I was telling, I am in this job, but that is the limited time is there. Retirement date is of course there. I am in this life, but there is the date of death is also there for me, and I will die someday. And all these family members, I should do my sadharma as a father, as a mother. What best I can give, I should give. But I know that it cannot continue all through. It is not possible. By that way, detachment. It's not that, so we love my families, we love the people, but we are not attached. And if you are attached, then it's a really, really painful, you know, very, very painful.
So the next question, he has a very weird name, top 10 or something. Is here. So he is asking, in the path of knowledge, is it said that without the knowledge of separation between body and Atman, salvation is not possible? Then how is it related to the path of devotion?
In the path of devotion, it is plus. In the path of knowledge, it is minus. So when you are, path of knowledge will teach you that your Atman, your body are completely different. So you have to separate your Atman from your body, minus. But in the path of devotion, exactly they will say, your body and your soul is God. Your God is enshrined within your body, within your heart. So that is the way they think. They don't think that this is my body. They think this is the temple of my God. This is the way they get the liberation.
So the next question is from Madhumita. She's asking, Maharaj, I like to get short stories of Bhagavata for the kindergarten children. Is this possible to get?
Yes, yes. Some books are there. So, that I think in our bookstore also it is available. So, the story of the Dhruva, story of the Prahlada, and the Narada, and so many. And the Bhagavata, if you want the conversation between the Kapila and his mother, Devahuti, it is not for the children. If you want the conversation between the Uddhava and the Krishna, it is not for the children. But the stories of the Bhagavata, different stories, that is of course, with the picture it is available. If you write to us, and you can go to our website also, and it is possible, it is there.
The next question is Shukendu, to whom God actually helps?
Shukendu, God helps those who help themselves, as Swami Vivekananda said. So, if I am helping myself and in a righteous way, then the blessings of God come. So, and surely it will come. The one should not, that sometimes the young people, they lose the faith and then they commit suicide or do some mistakes and get frustrated. One should not. I have something to achieve and I am going to achieve it. Don't compare with others. The moment you compare, then naturally you are going to get the suffering. Why? Oh, that man has done. So sometimes the speakers, nowadays it has become a very difficult, then they will say, oh, his listeners are 14,000. The talk that he has given, 14,000 people are listening. And you have given the talk, only 4 people are listening. 4 people are there. At least 4 are there. So that way we have to be satisfied, Either 4 or 14,000, all are same. They are not going to leave, but it is not the matter. So this, you please remember, you have some capacity, and according to those capacities, you are going to achieve something, and you have to be satisfied with that. The God helps those.
So lots of other questions on may I know the schedule of your next lecture? They want to know what is the next series.
That if you please send your email address, and we will include you in our Google group. All of you, those who are listening, you can tell your friends and relatives also. We'll be very happy to include you in our Google group. In the Google group, anything that we are doing over here, any function, any program, any lecture, all the time we communicate, and you will go on getting all our announcements and flyers. So that will be very easy way to understand. And that here I give the classes particularly from the Vedanta Society, the Sunday and Wednesday. Wednesday the Gospel, and the Sunday I give in different. I was continuing in the Bhagavata. The next will be some other the scripture, and at the same time many other talks are also there. You can please write to us. It is info@chicagovedanta.org.
They have started writing here. We will copy from it.
Very good. And friends, I like to announce that there's so many talks that we have given. So it is over here. So if you this call
USB.
This USB, the USBs are available. So it is 15 USB they have developed, and nearly 735 hours of lectures recorded here, and it will continue. So if you are interested, you can contact, you can purchase. That will be the wonderful. Then some Bengali songs are also there, talks are also there, and all the English talks that I have given, and the talks I have given in different places. All that the one devotee is there, he has collected, she has collected, and then made it. I am thankful to them that it has been recorded. If you are interested, you can take. Thank you. So let us now say 3 times Shanti and conclude. Om Shanti, 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Peace, peace, peace unto all.